One of the things that I decided to do while I was coming up to Maui, I have a model of mine that I photographed about 15 years ago. She was the cover for one of the issues of Rangefinder magazine where I'd photographed her in the Virgin Islands. I'd known the model since she was about 18, and here we are 15 years later, recently married. She just had a 6-month-old son. And Laura's done a lot for me. She's been a great friend of mine. One thing a lot of photographers do is you develop good friendships with your assistants, with your models, with your makeup artists, and your talent of all kinds. And so I wanted to take her family portrait. I wanted to be the one to do it. The secret to portraits is you have to understand that for every person you add in the portrait, the level of difficulty rises by that multiplier. So if you have 2 people, say a couple, it's twice as hard to photograph. 3 people, in our case, 3 times as hard to photograph. Because you're trying to get all the facial expressions perfectly right at the same time, that fraction of a second. That's very difficult. And since my background's a little bit more photojournalism, I told Laura, I said, you know, I want to do a different approach. We're going to put the big California SUNBOUNCE PRO reflector, which, it's easy to handle. So I had Rebecca, the model, hold that. So I told Laura, I said, I just want to do this kind of like in a lifestyle, candid mode where you and your husband and your baby just do whatever you want to do. Lay the blanket on the beach. I gave them the location that I wanted so we could take advantage of the natural sunlight that was coming in from the sunset. Keep in mind, instead of the sun being overhead, it's more of an oblique angle at that time, which is perfect, where you don't really have to raise the SUNBOUNCE over your head. You can literally, the Pro is 4 foot by 6 foot. You can either put it horizontally, which we did in this case because we had a family of 3, or you can put it vertically if you're just photographing one model and stand there. You know, if you have somebody hold it or lean it up against the stand at that time of day. And so that's what I said. Lay out the blanket, her and her husband and the baby, and they started playing and doing their thing. And I just started shooting. We had a few interruptions where there was I believe it was another portrait photographer, wedding photographer photographing a family just to the right of us. And of course, he'd have them run down the beach and they'd get my backdrop and I'd have to wait. You just work around it because that's how it is in photojournalism. You're shooting things as they happen. The downside is, you're only going to have so much sunlight when the sun is setting. But we got it. We had a good time. Took us about 45 minutes and got some fabulous photos of Laura and her 6-month-old son and her husband Brian, and it was amazing. And we had a blast. In the end, she was happy, and that's all that I like with my photography. It's about my subjects, not about me. I get pleasure out of pleasing, and I want my subjects to have something they can cherish for the rest of their lives.